entitled Pivotal UX, the Ultimate Desktop Experience. And we're really going to be focusing on all things desktop today. For those of you who attended our last webinar, we really talked about how you could use Pivotal UX in a mobile infrastructure as well. And so we're going to continue that conversation as we move from the small device type to having much more real estate space at our disposal. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and log into Pivotal. When we first access the desktop version of Pivotal, we're presented with what's known as the Action Center. And when people think about dashboards, they tend to ask questions about, what can dashboards really do for me? Can Pivotal help me or tell me what I need to do? And the answer to that question is absolutely yes. You can use dashboards to have the CRM system bring information to the forefront, really bring it to you so that you know what's going on inside your organization, but more importantly, what things you need to be working on and when you need to be working on those things. So from within the Action Center, you'll see a number of dashboard elements listed here. We can take a look at our pipeline. We can look at current activities and the dates and times that we need to take care of those activities. We can see actions or tasks that we need to focus on. And we can take a look at things like hot leads, for instance. These are leads that we've kind of categorized in a certain methodology, which I'll talk about a little bit later as well. The idea is that all this information that we're actually bringing into this dashboard view can be used in different ways to help us to navigate to different parts of the application and really drive everyday actions inside of Pivotal. And these aren't just pretty pictures on the screen either. They are designed to be fully utilized components. They are designed to be navigational aids. And I am a strong proponent of using dashboards as a way of navigating inside of Pivotal. It's a way of bringing information that's important to me right to me and then helping me to navigate to that information. So instead of just looking at information, you'll see that I can hover my mouse over a dashboard itself. And when I hover my mouse over, it will actually sum up the information for me, like the entire value of our opportunities within this particular pipeline stage. But if I just tap with my finger or click with my mouse, it'll also open up that information and allow me to drill down into it and navigate to this section of my pipeline. It's really an important concept to really kind of understand and start to grasp when we look at using Pivotal UX as a desktop application, because it's really allowing our users to use it as a navigational aid. So if I scroll down here, I can go to a different graph type and pull up different pieces of information. But again, it's allowing me to navigate inside the application, taking me to the information and getting me the answers that I need to get access to very quickly. And that's kind of an important thing that we want to look at when we start talking about dashboards. Now, more than just looking at queries of information that tell me what activities or actions I need to be working on or being able to navigate to information inside of Pivotal, we can set up multiple types of dashboards inside of Pivotal. And these multiple types of dashboards allow us to navigate to other areas of information. And users can add and remove additional dashboards as they see fit. They can edit these dashboards by deleting them if they don't want to have those types of dashboards, or if they want to move the placement of the dashboards around. But because you can have multiple dashboards, I can have different views of information based on the type of information that I want to be able to look at. And you can place all dashboard elements from all different departments on one, if that's what you want to do. But you might want to split these up so that if you wanted to look at a view of customer service, you could pull up information about customer service by just selecting that dashboard icon, and all of a sudden we're looking at service tickets by severity. We're looking at average time to close. Maybe we want to look at information on marketing as well. So we're pulling information from various points around the Pivotal application and bringing it into different dashboards for different user groups to have access to. Now, not any one particular user would probably have access to all these different types of dashboards, but I'm just giving you guys some options and showing you that you can have all different kinds of dashboards that are displayed inside of Pivotal, whether you're looking at marketing, whether you're looking at e-marketing initiatives about campaigns that we've recently launched, or taking a look at our campaign history, seeing how many emails were sent and how many links were actually clicked in our latest campaign, or being able to go back and view information about my particular quarter so that I can sum up what's my pipeline, what opportunities have I committed for this quarter, and what's my current quarter shaping up to be. So that if I want to drill into those details and see, what's my quota, what's my forecast, and what's the difference, I can do that right from these dashboards that we actually see on the screen here. So it's just providing you another way to navigate and provide different elements of information on the screen itself. Now we can modify this information that we actually see here, and we can do that very easily. So if I come over here to the right-hand side of the screen and I click on the little plus sign, when I click on the plus sign, I'm going to get access to a number of out-of-the-box dashboard elements that come standard with Pivotal. You can also create your own dashboard elements, but the ones that you've actually defined inside some of the toolkit and configuration settings within Pivotal will be displayed here as well. So you can just select one of these if you wanted to populate it inside your dashboard that you currently have selected, but you can also create a new one. And that's a very important feature inside of Pivotal UX because it allows you to give your end users the ability to create their own dashboards. So if I select new chart, for instance, it's going to pop open a pop-up for me to be able to fill out information. I can come out here and I'll just call this new dashboard. Now, we've simplified this process, so we use very easy table naming conventions in here. It's basically just taking the easiest possible naming conventions to be able to allow users to understand the information that they're actually pulling up in here. So it's a simplified process. So I can come out here, maybe select that I want to pull up information on opportunities. Then I can say, I really want this to be a Pi 3D graph. And then I can come out and start populating some information in the system itself. So it's going to ask me to be able to pull out different fields that I want to be able to relate and compare inside this graph that we're actually creating. And so I'll come down here and I'll say I want to take a look at information by territory, and I don't want any aggregation for that. So I can aggregate this by day, month, year, quarter if I wanted to, and I'll just say none there. I also want to be able to select a field type. Now, if I come down here and select field, I see there's a number of different field types that I have the ability to select. But if I choose an aggregation first, for instance, I want to do a summation of a particular field, it's going to allow me to only select those fields that I have the ability to summarize. Again, it's making it a lot easier for the end users to create this information. So I can select one of those and then just choose a query that I want to apply to this, and it's that simple. I go ahead and created that, and now we created a new dashboard element that appears down at the bottom portion of the screen. And I can navigate around in here, swivel this around, and I can even drive and navigate directly into the dashboard right once it's created in the system itself. And end users have even more capabilities for defining what they want their dashboards to look like, because now I can come by and I can say, you know what, I want to make this a little bit smaller. So I'll make it a little bit smaller that way. Nope, maybe I want to make it a little bit more smaller the opposite way. I can do that as well. So I can really kind of configure these and define what I want these to look like very quickly and very easily inside of UX. And that's a really great feature to have inside of UX, because it allows your users to be able to create and modify their own dashboards very easily in the system. We also have the ability to create content right from a dashboard. Now, if you look at the dashboard elements that we actually see on the screen here, some of these have a little plus sign on them. It actually allows me to create a new record right from the dashboard element itself. So I can create a new opportunity if I'm looking at my pipeline. I can create a new lead down here if I wanted to do it under hot leads. So if I came out to my queue and I didn't see a lead that I was expecting to see in my queue, all I have to do is click on the plus sign, and it will navigate me to the new lead creation form right from here. And I can fill this form out and add a new lead in the system very quickly, very easily. And that's something that's often overlooked inside of Pivotal, is that ability to actually create content right from the dashboard. Now think about that for a second. Look at all the things that we actually just accomplished. We haven't even left the Pivotal Action Center yet. We can navigate into our graphs. We can view information that's important to us. And we can create content right from here, right from within the dashboards itself. And everything that we're looking at here are also things that we can accomplish on any smart device, whether you're using a smartphone or a tablet as well. So it just gives you another way to be able to interact within your CRM system. So let's talk a little bit about some of the basic ways you can actually navigate inside of Pivotal itself. Now, over here on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a number of icons listed there. So you'll see companies, contacts, opportunities, leads, products, marketing, service, all kinds of different icons that are actually listed there. These are navigational aids to those specific features inside the Pivotal product and Pivotal platform itself. So if I select companies, now if I'm on a touch device, I can just tap with my finger. But if I select companies, then a submenu pops open for me with a number of different options that I have the ability to interact with. I can select contacts, and I have a different menu of options. Now, some of these are pretty self-explanatory, such as my contacts or creating a new contact. But you can utilize these menus as a navigational aid inside of Pivotal. And it can take me to key areas that I frequently need access to, such as creating a call reminder or creating a call report or being able to create a new note. And so it really helps users to be able to navigate to the information that they need to access very quickly in order to be able to do their specific task or job. And that is what really empowers users to embrace CRM more readily than they might be doing today, just by making it so much easier. And some of these things are very, 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 very easy to add inside of Pivotal itself. Come to contacts, select new note, and I'm already creating a new note in the system. It's just that simple to be able to access that information inside of Pivotal itself. So let's talk a little bit about searching for information inside of Pivotal. Now, there's many different ways that we can actually search for data. If I come over here to the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a little globe icon with a spyglass on it, and that's actually called Global Search. And from within Global Search, I can access all kinds of information inside of Pivotal itself. So if I select the downward pointing arrow here, it's basically going to show me all of the content that I can actually search on in Pivotal. And this is all controlled through your user's profile. So when you set up a security group, you'll allow them access to certain fields and certain pieces of information inside of Pivotal. So I can come out here and I can say, all right, I want to be able to select and maybe search on companies and contacts and maybe leads together. Or I can come out here and say, you know what, I really just want to search on everything. So I select all, and I can come out here and type in somebody's name and just perform a search that way. It's going to look through all of the content and find the closest possible matches for us inside the system itself. It'll categorize the information. For those of you that are familiar with Smart Client, a lot of this functionality does exist inside of Smart Client as well. But I can come out and I can filter content on the top portion of the screen. So I can come out and I can say I want to filter on contacts, or I want to filter on leads, or I want to filter on notes in the system, or I want to look at everything in the system itself. Notice that it'll actually come out and find content inside of a field. So if it finds a reference to John in a note or a comment field, it can actually bring that information in here as well. So that's a very powerful feature set inside of the system itself. But one important takeaway here is that if we're not finding the information that we actually want, you'll notice that that little plus sign is also available here. Now, this is controlled at the SRL level. So when we saw it on the dashboards, it's actually controlled by the SRL. We see it inside here. It's also controlled by the SRL. So I have the ability to define whether or not I want users to be able to create content at the SRL level at each individual search result list. So from here, if I didn't find the contact I was looking for, but I know it should be in there and I know I typed it correctly, I can come out here and I can create a new contact right from here, or I can create a new lead or a new note or a new opportunity right from within this screen. And again, it's about empowering and enabling your users to be able to get access and complete their tasks as quickly as possible inside the system itself. So that's one option for searching inside of Pivotal. Let's talk about some other options that we can use inside of Pivotal for searching. So if I come over here to contacts, I can actually come out and use what we call a quick search in the system. And a quick search allows me to come out and actually search on key pieces of information. Now, all the fields that we see on the screen here are completely configurable. So you can define what actually constitutes a field that you want to use inside of the quick search. But the quick search works by just coming out and typing in a person's name and being able to run searches based on that content. I can populate as much information as I want in here to be able to limit what's actually being displayed. And the content will just appear down at the bottom portion of the screen based on whatever I've typed in and whatever I've selected. I can also come out and do a search on companies in the system. Now, this is a little bit different search because it's what we call an advanced search inside of Pivotal, and it allows me to select more criteria. So now I have many more fields that I can actually choose from, and I don't have to predefine these fields in the system. I may want to run a specific search inside of Pivotal, and I don't know what fields I want to assign to that specifically. So I'll come out here and I'll create this search manually. And so I can select a field. When I highlight that field and select it, tap or click, a little plus sign comes up here and it allows me to add that field to the search criteria. And then I can choose, okay, I want this to be narrowed down to my account. In this case, I'm Jane Atkinson in this role, and it'll go out and perform that search. And I could add additional fields in here and additional operators if I wanted to perform those results, but now it'll go out and perform that specific search in the system as well. So we have very simple searches using global search. We can come back and we can actually filter and present information using the quick search feature, which is predefined search criteria. And we can have advanced search capabilities where we don't know the search criteria and we just need to select it and filter content that way. So there's multiple ways for being able to search inside the system itself. Now let's talk a little bit about creating content inside the CRM system. And this is always a favorite topic of mine, and I know I've talked to many customers about this particular concept before, and it has to do with the duplication of data. When people start thinking about data duplication, one of the things that they often think about is a very heavy, back-end intensive process where we're looking to find matches of duplicate records and then determine whether or not those are actually duplicate records and how do we merge that content together. One of the things that we're doing inside of the Pivotal UX platform and in all of the Pivotal products pretty much moving forward is trying to find ways to simplify various processes. Now, we've talked about some simplifications of processes already today, but this is one simple concept that can actually go a long way to helping reduce the number of duplicate entries in the system. And it has to do with kind of rethinking and reimagining what the process should be for creating content in a CRM system. So for instance, when I come out here and I select that I want to create a new contact in the system, normally what would happen is it would pull up probably a large page of information with names, addresses, phone numbers, all kinds of information inside the system itself. But rather than go through that process, and I'm sure we've all been there, where we go into the CRM system and we have a data duplication check process set up in the system. We fill out this entire form with names, phone numbers, addresses, contact information, comments, notes, all this stuff. And we go to hit save on that record, and the system tells us that a duplicate record already exists. Well, that tends to make me a little bit agitated when that happens to me, because then I have to go through and find that record, or I may have to recreate this record all over again. So it can be a time-wasting feature. Well, now let's come out and look at this process a little bit differently. So if I come out here to create a new contact, I can come out here and I can type in a first name, John. And when I just hit tab to go to the next field, you'll notice down at the bottom portion of the page, it actually filters out possible matches for me already. As I'm continuing to type this information, and I can add in additional fields here that I want the system to be able to check this on. It's kind of a dynamic search. So as I'm typing in information, it's filtering out that content until it hopefully finds an exact match based on what I'm searching on inside the system. Now, this seems rather simplistic, but it really goes a long way to helping curb off duplicate entries inside of a CRM system, because it's forcing you to do a duplication check first before you even start creating a record. Now, if you want to create the record, all you have to do is hit Create New, and you can start down that process if that record doesn't exist. But if it does exist, you can just navigate to it right from here. It's a very simple way of actually minimizing or heading off the creation of duplicate entries by just changing the process leading up to creating a record ever so slightly. So let's open up this contact record and take a look at some data inside the Pivotal CRM system. So when we open up the contact record, you're going to see a lot of information that's actually being displayed on the screen here. And so sometimes we want to be able to view lots of information about what we're doing. We also want to make sure that the right information is in front of us at all times. Now, I know you guys can't answer this question, so I don't expect anyone to actually give me a verbal answer, but I want you to think about this. When you look at this contact form, there's one feature on here that stands out really above all others, in my opinion. And I usually ask this of customers when we start talking about form design and how they can make access to information easier and what are some of the key features that their end users really like to be able to use. And so I'd ask you guys to just think about this quietly. When you look at this form, what really jumps out at you as being one of the most useful features? And it may not necessarily be the feature that you actually think. A lot of people will say, well, I really like the graphs at the top of the screen. It really gives me key pieces of information. Or I like to be alerted to what meetings are coming up or what calls I need to make or what were our recent activities. And those are all good answers. But it's much simpler than that, right? So one of the key features on this particular form is actually right here at the top portion of the screen. And even right now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, yes, that could be useful, but why is it so important? Well, it actually becomes important when I start navigating around through different tabs inside of this particular form. So as I start to move around through different tabs, if I go down to Profile, you'll notice that the information on the top portion of the screen stays with me through every single tab that I actually go through, whether I'm looking up relationships in the system itself, or whether we're looking at profile-related information for our names, addresses, phone numbers, and our call reports. All that information is right in the forefront for me. And why that's important is it can potentially make my job easier. Because when I find the information that I'm looking for and I want to contact that particular individual, their contact information is right in front of me. And so it's a little simple thing like that I want everybody to really think about. Little simple things like that can go a long way to improving the end user experience inside of using your CRM system. Now, everything else that's displayed on this page is also very useful. All the links at the top portion of the screen, these are all active links. So if I hit the phone icon, I can actually make a call. Now, if I have this integrated with my phone system, I can actually make that call, or out of the box, we offer integration with Skype so that you can actually make phone calls through Skype. Or if you're on a mobile device, you'll be able to tap that icon and you'll be able to place a mobile call right from your smartphone. Link also works for being able to send emails. So I can actually send an email right from here as well. Just by selecting that icon, I can actually send that email. Now, as we take a look at some of the other information on this form, there's a lot of data actually being displayed here. As I mentioned earlier, meetings, alerts, upcoming calls, recent activities. I like to call this the 80-20 view of information, where 80% of the information that I want to have access to is right here in the forefront for me. This is very critical, especially in the sales process, to make sure that the right information is easy for any sales associate, for any salesperson to be able to find and get access to very quickly. And they can come out here and see all the meetings they have coming up, any escalated service tickets that have recently come across, opportunities that we're currently working on, and recent activities that have taken place. Those are all key, useful things that can be brought right to my attention. The reason why I call this the 80-20 view is that 80% of the information should be right here. The other 20% I can certainly navigate to through using the tabs. I can go down to the profile, goals, service, interactions, relationships, all of that if I want those details. But I don't actually have to navigate there technically because I can get most of the information I need right on the screen. And again, making it easier for your end users to get in, get out, and find the information that they need to find to be able to do their day-to-day activities much more quickly and easily. Now, to get a view of information like this takes a couple of different things. And there are several tools inside of Pivotal that allow us to do that. One tool is actually called fixed width. Now, some of you may or may not have heard of that piece of functionality, but it was something that was actually released in 6.5.3. And so within 6.5.3, we had the ability to actually lock down what some of these groupings of information actually are. And what I mean by lockdown is I can actually control how this information actually expands. So it allows me to really define what this view actually looks like. The second feature is what we call nesting of information. And that's where I can actually take categories of information such as secondary table information or SRLs, and I can group them together to get this kind of cohesive, seamless view of information inside of Pivotal. It also means that when the shape of Pivotal actually changes, things really do look, well, I like to think they look spectacular. But if I come over here to the 3 bars in the upper left-hand corner and just select those, you'll see that I can remove those icons on the left-hand side of the screen. And when the screen actually shifts over, everything stays perfectly intact on the screen itself. And that's using some of these features such as nesting and the ability to apply fixed widths. Means I can choose what information I want to adjust when the screen actually adjusts in the amount of real estate space that it has. It also gives you a lot more flexibility when you're creating forms for those users that might be utilizing much larger screen resolutions. So when you're going from 1920 by 1080 to a 4K resolution, these types of adjustments make it much easier for you to be able to maximize the amount of real estate space on your screen type and not having to worry about how it actually looks from that standpoint. So just a couple of little things that I wanted to mention about being able to create content here. The last thing I'll mention is being able to utilize some of the functions at the top portion of the screen, giving us the ability to actually create content right from here, such as interacting to email. Now, most of you know, but some of you might not know, that we have very deep ties to Microsoft Exchange and Outlook within Pivotal. And those ties go all the way up to Outlook 365 in the cloud. That means that if I want to send an email, I can do that right from Pivotal by just selecting the email icon on the screen itself, and I'll get a pop-up which populates the email address automatically, and I can type in a subject and a body for this email message, and it automatically creates links back into the system to all of the known locations that this email address matches to for us automatically. I can type up some information and send this email out directly from here. It's a pretty powerful way to be able to perform those types of interactions inside the system itself. So let's talk about interacting some other ways inside of Pivotal. So one thing we don't often talk about is being able to look at product-related information. So we can actually store product data inside of Pivotal. Now, most of you probably have information on your products and your pricing stored in separate back-end systems and maybe even ERP systems. Well, we can actually store that information inside of Pivotal, or we can integrate to your ERP system or system of record for that product-related data. But there's a couple things I wanted to talk a little bit about that as well. If I come out here and just select products, it's actually going to take us to the product-related data inside of the Pivotal CRM system, where it'll basically just display a list of all of the products. Now, this is a demo system, so we have some very rudimentary and basic product information in here, but it's kind of a semi-product catalog of data. And inside this product catalog of information, we can store all kinds of data, such as details, descriptions of information, all the way down to even being able to capture what are some of our upsell and cross-sell capabilities, who we're competing with, being able to store pricing information in here. Now, this is obviously restricted, and not everybody would have access to be able to view information inside the price book. But I just wanted to showcase that you can store pricing information in here, including pricing for multiple currencies as well inside of Pivotal. But the main thing I wanted to showcase here was the collateral database. So inside of Pivotal, we have the ability to store collateral data. And so this is going to be documents, case studies, white papers, all sorts of information. And you can do this by storing it directly inside of the Pivotal database, or you can use a data management system or an outside system, or even a shared drive to be able to store that information on and still have access to it inside of Pivotal so that you can perform certain functions and features. Now, one of those particular functions and features is the ability to actually share this information out with our clients and our customers. So if I come over here to the right-hand side of the screen and I click on the little 3 dots, I can actually come out here and send collateral, right? So all I have to do is come down to activities and hit send collateral from this product, and it will automatically show me all the collateral that I have to send for this specific product. And I can choose one of these pieces of collateral and just select it. When I do that, it's actually going to show me a pop-up window for a new email. And if I go to the attachments pane, it's automatically attached that information. What that means is that sales users can go into the system, they can look up a specific product. They can do that from global search, by the way. They can search for product or search on collateral right inside a global search, find that information, and then you can send it directly to somebody, one of your clients or customers. Now, if I click on the plus sign here, it's actually going to come out here and it's going to link to both the Pivotal database and can link directly to your Exchange server, so that I can come out here and I can say, I want to search Exchange for the name JON and run that search, and it'll go out and it'll search the Exchange location for all of the Johns that we actually have in the system itself. Or I can say, no, you know what, I really just want to search inside of Pivotal for that data. So I can search inside of Pivotal, and here's who we have inside of Pivotal for that specific information. So I can select an individual inside of Pivotal. It'll automatically go out and select those links, create those links inside the system for us, and I can go ahead and send that information directly from here. And actually, it would help if I typed in a subject. We'll just call this doc and send. And it'll go out and send that information directly from here. So it's just a powerful way for you to be able to interact within your CRM system right from within inside of Pivotal UX itself. So let's talk a little bit about different ways that we can actually interact within the CRM system. So one of the ways that we want to be able to interact with the CRM system is actually through the use of what I call context menus. If I come out to opportunities and I select current opportunities, I love to talk about context menus because it's often overlooked inside the system itself. And so I can come out to just any search inside of Pivotal, and if I right click on that search, now if I'm on a touch device, all I have to do is a hard press, and I'll get this same menu option that comes up for me. Now, this is often overlooked because most people, when they're using an internet browser, don't really think to right-click. Because normally when you right-click in a browser, you get a whole bunch of weird options that become available to you that you probably don't want. When you right-click inside of Pivotal, you get a menu of really good options that you can start to utilize, and stuff that people didn't even know was available to them, such as the ability to run a report, or the ability to export data that they see on the screen to Excel, whether it's desktop or cloud-based Excel 365, or the ability to actually use the context menus to interact with the records that you have selected on the screen itself, such as changing the status or updating your milestones or updating your forecast. But if I want to run a report, all I have to do is select Run Report, and I'll get a menu option that pops up for me to select a report. All I have to do is just select that report, and the report will automatically open up for me in a separate window inside of Pivotal. So any reports that you guys have running today, any crystal reports you have created can run directly from within the Pivotal UX interface and will just be displayed inside an internet browser for you. It's just another way for you to be able to interact inside the system. Now I can also start to interact with data inside the Pivotal system, and I love this option. We can create emails, meetings, and notes, all linked through Exchange and Outlook and Pivotal right from here. But I can now use some of the pop-up features, such as being able to change the status of the selected opportunity. And if I select change status, I get a small pop-up window that allows me to come out here and actually change this information. So I can change this from, to 1 or in progress right from here. So it's another way for me to interact with Pivotal and not have to open up a form. And that's one of the key things that I want to strive today, is utilizing these features inside of Pivotal that keep you from having to open up forms. So I want to update my milestones. I come out, select milestones. I can update my opportunity milestones right from here as well. Simple things like that go a long way to adding usability into the CRM system, making it easier for people to get to the information they want to be able to access that much more quickly. So let's talk a little bit about some of the other features that are available inside of Pivotal. And one of the features that I want to talk about is the ability to view information graphically inside of Pivotal. And so one of the things that I want to talk about is the ability to actually use icons to help us analyze information inside of Pivotal quickly and easily. So you'll see a number of icons on the left-hand side of the screen, one under a column called Progress, another one under a column called Analysis. And what these icons are doing is it's actually analyzing data inside of Pivotal and giving us some suggestions based on that analysis of information. The Progress icon is basically coming out here and telling us where we are inside this opportunity. you'll see that one of them is basically looks like a crosshair, like we're really right on target. And that basically is signifying that we are, based on our time and date stamp and where we are within this opportunity, this is probably a good opportunity to close this quarter. We are right on target. We're not falling behind. And it's capturing that information based on where we are in the opportunity, based on the date and where we are within the quarter itself. We can also come out and apply other icons to let us know that, there's some issues here. Maybe we're falling behind, or maybe there's a real issue on there, signifying by the cloud icon with the lightning bolt out of it. There's storm clouds ahead. We haven't had any contact from this particular individual for a long period of time, and it doesn't look good that this is probably going to close when we think it's going to close. The analysis column is actually rating the strength of our competitor on that particular opportunity. And so in some cases, we might have a really good opportunity where we're on target and we get the green thumbs up, which is stating, hey, we don't see any red flags here on this opportunity. This is a really good opportunity for us to be focusing on. In other cases, we might be on target and we see a thumbs down. Now, that is signifying that there's a competitor on this opportunity that we more than often lose to under these circumstances. Now, what are we actually using these icons for? These icons are really helping me to focus where I should be spending my time and effort. So if there are opportunities that we're spending a lot of time and effort on, but because of certain factors, we're probably going to lose this opportunity, I may not want to focus my time and attention on that. And so this is where the CRM system can take information that we're capturing in the background and use that to help us to determine where we should be focusing our time. And that's kind of an interesting concept to look at. So I wanted to make sure I spent a little bit of time talking about that today as well. The other thing that I wanted to focus on is searching for information graphically. So some of you may not know that there is a new graphical search interface inside of Pivotal, and it's actually called the Opportunity Board or Search Board. And when I select the Opportunity Board, I can actually come out here, and it gives me the capability to actually graphically represent my search result list right here. And so I can manipulate this information as well. So if I come out here and I select, I want to take a look at, all opportunities in the system. The system will go out and it'll pull up all opportunities, whether they're closed or won, whether they're in the assessment stage. It'll categorize all that information based on our sales stages that we have assigned in the system, and it tallies all of the information for each one of those specific categories. And that is really powerful stuff. I mean, it gives users a wealth of information in this one particular view. And it doesn't even stop there. I actually come out here and I can filter this content even further. So if I select the little filter icon in the upper right-hand corner, now I can come out and even further interact with this. Now, these cards that are actually being displayed here give me a wealth of information. They tell me where we are percentage-wise in completing this opportunity. They can also tell me totals of the opportunity and time and date stamps and how old the opportunity is. You'll see that some of these opportunities are pretty old, but that's only because this is a demo system with some old data in it. But the idea is that I can actually come out here and filter on this content. So I can say, all right, I'm only interested in those opportunities that are currently in progress. And I'm only interested in those opportunities that are currently in the review stage. And so I can just select the filter icon and it will actually filter that content out for me. Now, I can also clear this content and go back to my original search parameters in the system. Now, if I wanted to access this data directly, all I have to do is tap with my finger or double click here, and it'll navigate me directly to that specific opportunity. But I can also come out here, and there's a little icon in the lower right-hand corner. If I click on that icon, it'll actually bring up a pop-up window for me that will allow me to interact with this record. And this pop-up window can really navigate you to anywhere, but in this case, it's navigating me to update my milestones very quickly and very easily here in the system itself. It's a very powerful way, again, keeping users from having to open up each individual record, bringing key information right to the forefront so that they can interact and make multiple changes to multiple records very quickly. And that's what the Opportunity Board is all about, bringing a lot of information to the forefront, allowing me to filter on the content so I can see exactly what I want, display the right information in front of me, and then help me to make quick and easy updates to that data so that I can complete my work that much more efficiently. And that is a really, really powerful concept. So let's go ahead and access this opportunity. I'll go ahead and click on it and open it. And when I open that opportunity, we're going to talk about a few key concepts inside of Pivotal itself that I think are really exciting to talk about. And one of those concepts is what I call the opportunity timeline. So there's a lot of information that's actually displayed on the screen here, but the opportunity timeline is what really jumps out at you. The opportunity timeline allows us to take information from all of our emails, meetings, and tasks, correlate those with our sales stages, and provide us a review of all of the activities that have happened from when we started working on this opportunity to when we hopefully will close this opportunity. And it takes all of that information from Exchange and from Outlook through the emails that we send, the meetings that we set up, and the tasks that we actually have and need to complete. We can see a lot of this information down at the bottom portion of the screen, such as upcoming meetings, upcoming calls, alerts, tasks that we need to actually complete, assigned tasks, and there's just a wealth of information for us to be able to utilize right within this own opportunity form. And remember, details are just a click away on the left-hand side of the screen if I wanted to look at information about the summary view, so we can actually see what's going on, who are all the contacts associated with this, any competitors that we have in place for this, and the ability to create quotes directly from here as well, which we'll come back and talk about in just a little bit as we go through the entire process. But if I come out here and just select the opportunity timeline and navigate into it, it gives me the ability to drive directly into this specific opportunities timeline where it spells out all of the activities for me to see. I can see exactly when we started reaching out, and I can actually see what key activities we need to complete prior to hopefully closing this business. And this is not just a pretty picture, these are all fully interactive. So if I select one of these options, it'll actually pop open that window for me, giving me the exact details, time and date stamp, the content that was covered for that meeting or that email, and all the links apply to it. It's just a very graphical way for me to be able to interact and view key pieces of information inside of Pivotal. So one of the things that I wanted to focus on now was talking a little bit about working with lead data. And then we're actually going to walk through a full process from creating a lead inside of Pivotal all the way through generating an order inside of Pivotal as well. So we come out here and take a look at some lead data. We'll see that we're classifying the lead data based on a rating system that we actually have set up for our rated leads. And so some of these leads are classified as being a bullseye for us. I mean, that is, they fit all of our perfect criteria. Some of the leads are classified as questionable. Those icons can go a long way to being able to summarize the status of a specific entity inside of Pivotal, no matter whether it's a lead, an opportunity, or even summarizing a key contact inside of Pivotal. It can go a long way to helping you understand your data at a very quick glance. If I go into a lead record, I'll be able to access the details for that specific lead. We'll actually see in the upper right-hand corner, we can map the location automatically for this specific lead using Google Maps. And we also have the ability to view any emails, meetings, content that we actually have underneath activities. And this is using the same structure that we looked at before. This is a single page view of information that gives us our lead information, our addresses, our phone numbers, and all of the qualification key points in here as well. Qualification is an incredible process for us to be able to track inside of Pivotal. We can track many metrics, or we can track just a few metrics. It really depends on how much information you want to be able to capture inside of Pivotal. We want to be able to capture whether their interest is strong, what products they're actually interested in, maybe the date that we actually received the leads, that we can follow up on it. There's a lot of information that we can actually capture directly in here. Another feature that revolves right inside of Pivotal is the ability to actually capture information via signature. And so I talked a little bit about this during the mobile version a couple of weeks ago, but I wanted to show this on the desktop version. This is not limited to just using on leads. You can actually use this feature on any form in any feature set inside of Pivotal UX. It gives us the ability to just either type, or if I was on a touch screen, I could just type with my finger, and it gives me the ability to just save that information inside the system here as a record. So we can actually save that information. This can be utilized on multiple levels. If you want customers to be able to interact and authorize information, just doing a little signature capture can go a long way to doing that, especially if you're using tablets or your smart device It's just something that's newly been added inside of Pivotal. It's kind of a neat feature to actually showcase inside of Pivotal itself. So let's walk through the entire process. And this won't actually take us too long. I know we're kind of running out of time here today. But if I wanted to go out and really track information from a lead from the beginning of the process to the end of the process, and we looked a little bit about this last week, but I hadn't populated all of the data on the particular form that we were using, and we weren't actually able to show this process running from start to finish. So rather than actually have me watch me fill out all this information in the form, I've come into the system and I've actually pre-populated with a lead, first name, last name, put in an address, and captured some details about that specific lead through the qualification process. Now, once we qualify this lead, we can actually come out here to the right-hand corner, and I can actually select that I want to convert this lead either to a company and a contact or convert it to an opportunity. The difference between these two is if I convert it to a company contact, it's only going to convert it to a company and a contact record. If I convert it to an opportunity, it's going to do all three. It's going to convert it to an opportunity, and it's also going to convert it to a company and to a contact. So it'll do all of those at once. Now, the reason why you'd want to do this is because it's going to save you time rather than having to recreate all this information again. It will copy over all of the key elements into that opportunity automatically for you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select Convert to Opportunity. And it says that the lead SAM sample has successfully been converted to company, and it's been converted to an opportunity, and it's been converted to a contact for us automatically in the system itself. So it's actually done all of those for us. All it's asking me to do right now is to actually name the opportunity itself. So I will call this sample op for simplicity's sake, and we'll go ahead and save that information in the system. Now, a couple things. There's not much information that's populated here because we haven't had many interactions or any calls or any meetings that have been set up for this particular contact. We don't even have any information populated in our timeline. Well, we can actually come out here and generate our milestones, which would be the next step. And we can actually choose from different templates of milestones to actually be generated inside the system itself. So when we generate our milestones, it's automatically going to populate our timeline preview. And I can actually come out here and view all the milestones that have been now assigned to this opportunity. So this is defining the process that we're going to follow for the creation of this particular opportunity. We can actually come out here now and we can create a quote very easily. Now it automatically transferred over the product information from the previous page because we listed the product of interest for this specific lead. And so I don't have to type that in again. It already predefined that information, but I do need to put in a quantity. So let's just say that the customer is interested in 100 of these and 100 of these. We can also add additional products in here if we wanted to at that particular time. What I can do is I can just save this information in the system. It will pre-calculate all of our information, giving us out our quote total. And now once we have that data in the system, I can actually generate a proposal. So if I go ahead over on the right-hand side of the screen and I select Generate Proposal, it will actually go out and it will take this quote that we've actually put together and generate a proposal for us and a quote in a PDF format for us, very simply, very quickly, very easily. And that's what our quote process actually looks like. Now I can take this one step further and I can actually send this proposal out to the client. So if I go ahead and select Send Proposal, it's going to get our familiar email pop up. It copied over the correct email address and created linkages back to the quote, the company, the opportunity, the contact, and the lead. So we're tracking it through all of these various entities inside of Pivotal, and it did that all automatically for me. And it also attached a copy of the PDF document as well. I can view that by just double clicking on it, and it would show the PDF file for us. Or I can come out here and I can say, quote, and we'll say send quote, and we can send this quote out in the system right from here. All done very simply, very easily. Now, the customer comes back, emails us, maybe calls us back and says, it sounds good to me, let's go. All I have to do is select this to approved. And once I do that process, the system will automatically go through and it says that the quote status has been set to approved. Do you also want to set opportunity status to 1, set account type to customer, and update the customer sent value in the account if empty, which means it's just going to say that this customer became a customer today. And it'll go out and go ahead and perform all of those tasks for us in the background. And so now all of that stuff happened for us automatically. That is basically the very short walkthrough of an entire sales process right there, from the time that we created the lead, converted the lead to an opportunity, created a quote off of that opportunity, sent the quote to the client, and then approved the quote from the client and generated an actual order inside of Pivotal. That is an extremely powerful process to actually go through end to end here. I know that everybody's process is different, but just know that the building blocks are here inside of Pivotal to be able to accomplish many of those tasks that you want to be able to accomplish right from inside of Pivotal UX. And the one takeaway that I want everyone to think about today is that all of the features that we actually looked at right here, all of these features inside of Pivotal are also available inside of the mobile version of Pivotal. So if I go out, and I'll share my screen here, if I go out onto my mobile device, and we actually open up the mobile version of Pivotal, and this is actually running in my smartphone. For those of you that weren't on the session last week, this is what we talked about last week. Everything that we just accomplished in the desktop version of Pivotal is also available inside the mobile version of Pivotal. They're basically running the same interface, and Pivotal utilizes pixel identification to be able to determine what content to actually serve up on what device, meaning that it's smart enough to know that if I'm on a smartphone, I need to use a form that maximizes the space on the smartphone itself. So we still have access to all of our same dashboard items that we were just looking at before. Here's my hot leads that we were looking at. I can come out here, I can go under contacts, and I can do a search on my key contacts in the system and be able to pull up information for my specific contact inside of Pivotal, spelling out lots of key attributes. You'll notice that this form is different than the form that we were just looking at in the desktop version, because Pivotal knows this is a smartphone and it served up the appropriate content for that device type. If you're using a tablet, Pivotal can serve up a different form for tablet users as well. Again, maximizing the amount of real estate space that they actually have access to. Icons across the top of the screen walk us through the entire process of taking a look at our relationships, taking a look at opportunities that we have in the system and being able to view that information, all the way to being able to review all of our activities that we have. We're classifying information and being able to send information in the system itself, to being able to review orders that were actually generated inside of Pivotal. So we can actually have details about specific orders right at our fingertips right from here. And we don't have a ton of time to spend a lot talking about the features within the smart device. We do have a recording of that previous session, so I encourage anybody that did not see that last session to get in touch with your account representative. And if you don't have access to the link to be able to view that, that will certainly go into much more detail than what I just did here. My main takeaway from this is just to showcase again that both user interfaces are completely in sync and that we can share information back and forth between the two instances of the same version of Pivotal. So whether you're using a smartphone or whether you're using the desktop version of Pivotal, the information and the user access is nearly identical between the two of them. And that's a very powerful takeaway. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I know an hour goes by very quickly, but one of the things that I wanted to touch on before we open it up to any general questions is that this was the second in our three-part Pivotal webinar series. The last one we did 2 weeks ago was about mobility, and today's was the ultimate desktop experience. And in 2 weeks, on June 20th, we're going to be doing one called Beyond Data Entry, the executive experience. So we're basically going to be talking about how data rolls up, how we can access information in Pivotal, and how management and executive users can gain from the information that's available inside of Pivotal, and how do we make that information usable to them, easy to access for them, and don't inundate management with information that they don't necessarily want to have access to. So it's really going to be just beyond the data entry experience in our next pivotal session. The other thing that I will just briefly mention is the Appian CRM conference, which is going to be at the Westin Dallas downtown in Dallas, Texas. That is actually occurring October 22nd through 24th this year. So again, I encourage any of you that are interested in attending that conference. If you haven't heard about the details or don't know about the details yet, I encourage you to reach out to your Appian account representative. They'll be more than happy to get in touch with you and provide you any additional information that you want to be able to give you the information you need for that specific conference. So absolutely wonderful. We're going to be talking about a lot of topics similar to what we actually covered today, and there's going to be a lot of wonderful sessions that people are going to be participating in. So we have just a couple minutes left. I'll open it up with any questions that anybody has today. And let's see. One question is, can the starts with default search variable be changed to contains default search, and how is that done? Well, I don't have time to actually explain how that is done, but I can tell you that it can be done, and it actually takes place inside the toolkit. There are other options for you to be able to change that query variable inside the query itself, but you can, so there's multiple places you can actually change that. So you can change it at the query level inside of Pivotal. But you can also change it in the toolkit as well. The other question is, are the features you showed today out of the box? Most of what I showed today was out of the box. Some of what I showed today, some of the form design was actually done just to showcase things that you could actually do within the Pivotal UX interface. So some of the forms are not quite out of the box, but just about all of the other features that we talked about, such as being able to use icons, such as the ability to use the search board, the opportunity board, the context menus, all of those types of features are completely out of the box, and those components will be fully available to you guys. Well, that is about all the time that we have for today. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I encourage you to join us in our next session on June 20th, where we look beyond data entry and really focus on how we can roll all of this information up into Pivotal to get that overarching view for management and executive users. Again, thank you very much for attending today.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you all for joining. This concludes our presentation, and if you have any more questions or wish to learn more about Pivotal UX, please contact your account manager. Have a great day.